only sad thing about the opening of a new John Waters film is that Divine can't be in it. Divine died in 1988 of a heart attack. Divine was frequently referred to as a 300-pound drag queen, but he preferred to think of himself as a character actor. It was Waters' movie Pink Flamingos that first made Divine famous. If you've seen the film, then you'll remember the image of Divine's huge frame, covered in a skin-tight, low-cut gown. Divine's last film with Waters was Hairspray. I spoke with Divine in February 1988 when Hairspray was released. It was the month before Divine's death. We talk first about his role in Hairspray. The film was set in 1962. Ricky Lake played Tracy Turnblad, a hefty teen who upstages the reigning teen queen on the local TV dance show. Divine played Tracy's mom, Edna Turnblad. Let me ask you to describe in your own words the two roles that you play in Hairspray.
Well, I think one is Edna Turnblad is a loving mother and adoring wife, and vice versa. And she has a child that wants to break into a dance program on television. At first, she's a bit leery, but then realizes that, in her words, she could be one of the Rockettes. So she thinks this is great and gets behind her 100% and becomes her agent and manager. Then I also play a part of an Arvin Hodgepile, who is a racist, sexist pig, and he owns a television studio. And he's just a hideous person. So it was great to play, because they're unlike any other characters I've ever done.
Are you glad that you played a dual role, that you played a female and a male role, so that you're seen as a character actor who's capable of performing in both roles?
Definitely. I think it's the cliche Hollywood story of being typecast, and I'm definitely a victim of that. But I think I'm very lucky that I'm starting to come out of it. It's taken 20-some years. Like I said, I'm screaming at people, I'm not a transvestite, I'm not a drag queen, I'm a character actor. I never set out in the beginning of my career just to play female roles. But fortunately, or unfortunately for me, they were the only things that were offered to me. They were written for me, which is unbelievable to have that done. And they were the leads of the movies. So you don't go around turning down parts that are the leads or that are written for you if you're a young actor. I had no idea, though, that they would be such strong characters that people thought that was all I could do.
Let's talk about your roles in Hairspray. A part of the movie is about hairdos, about the great teased, bouffant hairdos of the early 60s. And I know John Waters is really enamored with those old hairdos. You used to be a hairdresser, didn't you?
Well, for a very short time. I'm glad I had that experience. It's come in very helpful now. Because when I'm on the road and things during my club act, there aren't always hairdressers available or things. So I end up having to do it myself. And I said, I'm glad I know how to tease, because that's definitely the look they want. But I said to John, he doesn't have to go too far from his front door, actually, to still see women that look just like that. When I was doing the film, it was very funny, because the first day on the set, I walked down the street. No one looked at me twice. I walked right through the camera crew, past John, and kept going. None of them looked at me. I came back and stood right in front of John. He looked at me, and he did a double take. It was very funny. He said, I can't believe that's perfect. So I looked just like one of the girls on the street.
How did that make you feel?
Oh, it was good. I mean, that was the best compliment. I mean, I did fit right in. I did look exactly the way I was supposed to. And because so often with my size and things, I'm so, what's the word? Not uptight, but about sticking out too much.
Self-conscious?
Yeah, self-conscious. Yeah, about sticking out too much or being the largest person on the set. But then in a way, that's the best thing to do, I guess. You get noticed more.
I'm just going to ask you one question about the famous Pink Flamingos scene in which the movie ends, and just one question about it, and then you have to eat a fresh dog turd, and you and John Waters have both said that you did it to kind of get attention, and the film really did. I mean, you were real upcoming people.
Well, John came to me and he said, would you do this? I said, oh, sure. Who thought I thought he was kidding? And a year later, he said, okay, now tomorrow you have to eat the dog turd. I said, oh, this is great. He wasn't kidding, And he said, well, listen, do you want to be famous or do you want to be completely forgotten about? He said, it's going to do either one or the other for you. It's going to make you or forget you. Said, your name will go down in movie history forever anyway, no matter what you do. And I thought, well, what do I care? I was very young, and you don't think about all these things. And I didn't really think about it until I had to follow that dog around for 3 hours. And finally it went, and it was quite a hideous experience, actually.
Well, here's my question. Did you rush off to an emergency room afterwards?
Well, no, I
That's a
went
silly question,
home.
but I'd be wondering about,
Well,
germs and things like
well,
that.
I know I had mouthwash and things,
Hmm.
and I brushed my teeth and goggled. Anyway, I went home, and I was sitting there. And the more I thought about it, then I started to worry. So I called the hospital. And I'll never forget this. And I didn't know what to tell them, because I was a bit old to run around eating dog feces. So I called and I said, "Oh, hello, this is Mrs. Johnson, and my son just ate dog duty, and what should I do?" And she said, "Well, how old is your son?" And I said, "Well, he's 24 years old." And well, then the nurse she said, "Some maniac's on the phone here. Their son's 24 and he's eating dogs." So I got back on the phone. She said, "Well, why?" And I had to tell her, well, I said that he was retarded and that we had a dog and he was in the backyard playing with the dog. The dog had gone to the bathroom and he'd eaten the dog mess. So she said, "Well, you just have to wash his mouth out and, do all this." She said, "But feel his stomach every day because he could get what was called like a worm, a white worm." And every day I was feeling my stomach to see if it finally one day it got hard and I thought, "Oh my God, I've got it." But I had hysterical white worms as it was. I didn't have anything. So I was very lucky. But she suggested that I get rid of the dog.
Well, I know John Waters wants to do a sequel. You wouldn't go through that again for a sequel, would you?
No, I said, "Do you want to have to stand under an elephant the next time?" Forget it. I said, I had to draw the line somewhere. So I said that was my last experience with animals, please.
Did you love movies when you were growing up? What were some of your favorite films?
Oh, I've always had a very macho taste in movies. Um, my favorites then when I was a kid were those Knights of the Round Table movies and war movies. And
Really?
yeah, I still like a good war movie. I mean, Platoon and all those movies I loved. And I really do like Rambo movies and Sylvester Stallone. And Charles Bronson, I think, is probably my favorite.
So you probably really enjoy playing heavies when you get the chance to do that.
Yeah, I'd like to play in some of those movies, where they kill 150 people in the first 2 minutes of film. It really does relieve any frustrations you might have, I think.
That's great. So you liked really war movies and action films. Did you like glamour movies when you were growing up?
Well, anything that Elizabeth Taylor was in, I liked.
Did you like her better when she was thin or heavy?
It didn't matter to me.
Uh-huh.
Didn't matter. I thought it was just more of her to look at when she got heavy. But still very beautiful. And I finally did meet her one day, and I couldn't speak at all. After years of planning what I was going to say to her, I was blah, 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 blah. So I don't drink, but I went and had a double scotch and came back and had a little conversation with her.
Did she know you?
She knew of me. It was a party for her daughter, Maria, and her hairdresser and makeup man, were people that I've used, and they had told her all about me, so she wanted to meet me at the party.
That's great that you'd use the same makeup man.
Yeah. We look a lot alike.
John Waters has said that he really has always loved it when people who don't fit mainstream good looks take what they have and really turn it into style, turn it into an advantage. Did you feel like you were doing that when you were growing up? Because you were, I think you were always pretty heavy.
Yeah, well, no, actually not, because I was very much an introvert, and I never really went out of the house till I was about 16 years old. I was very uptight about my weight and about the way I looked, and I always wanted to look like everyone else. And finally, my junior year, like when I was 16 and in high school, is when I really started hanging out with John and everyone else. That I got the confidence together to go out, and I was always in a coat. I always had a raincoat on or something. People probably thought I was a flasher, but I was just uptight about how fat I was. But at the same time, couldn't or wouldn't do anything about it. Finally, I went on a diet, like I said, my junior year, and lost to 80 pounds and went down to 140, 145, and for my senior year. And then I was able to get dates and go to the prom and everything. But still, it was strange to me, because all of a sudden people talked to me. They wouldn't talk to me when I was fat. And I thought, well, what's this all about? It was a rude awakening, actually, at a very young age.
How did the tough guys in the school treat you, the people who really wore the hoods?
Oh, well, I wasn't. They used to wait for me every day to beat me up after school. And to the point where I was quite black and blue and afraid to say anything because it had threatened my life. And it was very bad. And finally, one day I had to go for a physical to the doctor, and when I disrobed. I mean, it was quite obvious that something terrible was happening to me. And finally, I broke down after a lot of questioning and told him what the problem was. And they called my parents, and when they saw what I looked like, they were quite hysterical. And we had the police at the school, and the kids were expelled, and it was quite an ugly situation, which made me even more unpopular with their friends and the other people, you know. But so I had to go through, like I said, the next 2 years of school with that stigma attached to me. But then I think finally, like I said, in my senior year, it was more or less all right. It wasn't so bad. But up until then, it was quite hideous, and I really hated school, and I hated the whole situation.
You said that it was John Waters who who helped give you your image.
Right.
How did you decide on what that image was going to be when you first were getting it together?
At the time, there were Andy Warhol, and a lot of people were making cult movies, and as they called them, underground films then, which were just the equivalent of your independently made movies today, low budget. And so the one name, like Viva, was very popular, so John gave me the name Divine. He just said he thought I was, and it was that I was funny and that I was divine, and it was a good name for me. And also because we had a very heavy Catholic upbringing, we had sort of religious names. So I don't know, of course the names became more popular again today with Madonna and Cher and Prince and Princess and all of these people. But did I go off the subject?
No. And then when you were getting like
this...
the... Well, excuse me?
I couldn't remember what the question was. It was
about forming the image when...
Yeah, so I think when John wanted a very large woman, because as you had said before, he wanted the exact opposite of what normally would be beautiful. He wanted a 300-pound beauty as opposed to a 110-pound beauty. He wanted to, as I've been called, an inflated Jane Mansfield. So that's what he got. And also, it's ironic that he would say the most beautiful woman in the world turns out to be a man. So everything there is backwards. So it's really a John Waters character.
My interview with Divine was recorded in February of 1988. Divine died the following month at the age of 42.